Well, our topic was elevating web analytics to executives, and we had a great group of diversified business models and people to share knowledge. One of the things that really jumped out to us right away was that I'm from a small business, and a lot of the people in the room were from companies of 10,000 people to 2,000 to 10,000 people. So it was very evident as we talked through this that there was probably a two-pronged approach that you could use to attack that kind of need within the organization. So what we did is we broke this down into three basic categories of topics that we want to address, just to kind of get the dialogue going, which is one of the requirements Matt put on us, just to kind of get the speech going so we can share it online and continue kind of developing the dialogue and the conversation. The things that we dealt with specifically were strategy, organization, and communication and education. And we've got a digital document. If any of you want that, when I'm done, just let me know, and I can give that to you in a PDF format. Matt's also going to have a copy of that available. But I'm going to share with you just a couple of the problems that we identified with each category, and then also maybe a couple of solutions that we just started exploring to kind of solve them. So specifically with strategy, we had understanding different levels of analytics usage on executive level. A lot of the executives don't really understand the difference in analytics. So a Google free analytics package versus an Omniture, it's the same thing to them. They don't really grasp that. So when you come in and ask for whatever the budget is for a Omniture analytics, they're going to ask, well, why can't you use the free stuff? And so that's something we specifically said we've got to address. A lot of organizations don't really have a strategy. And so they're just kind of saying, hey, we need this, let's buy it, let's do it. And they don't really ever pass that along to the organization from the top down. A couple of ways we looked at solving that, obviously, square one, have a strategy. So if you don't have one, you're kind of missing the boat. Document key elements of the strategy and the best practices. You see a lot of this inside of Omniture's tools, and there's a lot of support materials there, but best practices just on how to put together a strategy. We felt like that was a very necessary component. With the diversified experience in the room, there was a lot of contribution from different elements on what that might look like. We didn't really formulate what it might end up at, but we wanted to start the dialogue, and so that's in there that we need to address it. Better communication of the capabilities of the tools. This was something that we felt like could be addressed maybe on a third-party level from a Forrester or Jupiter or just about anybody that wants to come out and do it rather than Omniture. Omniture doing it kind of touts their own accolades rather than a third party addressing it and saying, hey, this is better than a free analytics or a Yahoo Analytics because it delivers these results. And so it does build value. So how do you look at that? And once you accomplish those goals, then you can take on the next steps. Specifically in our organization, we're looking at picking up Discover 2 this year, hopefully. But we've had to go through 2 years of building value in Site Catalyst and Test and Target to be able to take that next step. So that's part of our strategy. Second topic was organization. The problems that we addressed there, again, there are about 6 that we came up with. The 3 that we highlighted were ownership and sponsorship of analytics. A lot of times the analytics within an organization, it's championed by the analytics people, the analyst specialists. It's not championed by somebody on a high level. Poor understanding organizationally of what analytics really invokes or involves. So what does it really take to execute this thing? There's the rollout process, there's the ongoing development, there's the ongoing value. If all you want is page views, then we can just give you page views, but you really want more than that. Okay, and then obviously staffing. Sometimes you're called on to implement a product like Omniture, but you don't really have the adequate staffing to build the value of the product. So you need to make sure that you have the right people on board to execute. So the ideas that we came up with was obviously identifying a senior owner with a lot of clout in the organization. If you really want to tout the value of the package, then you obviously need to go with a senior executive as high up as you can go. So what is your strategy that actually executes on that? Okay. A correlation between good analytics and money. You got to really build that value. Poor analytics usage is not going to really accomplish much. You might want to just give up now. But if you can correlate between the value of the product and the value it brings to the business model, then you're making some headway. Okay. And the last topic we came up with was communication. The problems were no communication strategy results in a little perceived value. So if you've got a product and you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, a lot of times you're the only one that thinks that. So you really need to build that value all the way up to the executives, depending on what your budget is. If you've got a really big budget, obviously you've got to go a lot higher because the check gets signed at the top level. The other problem was difference in products, free versus paid. Again, I mentioned that a minute ago. Ideas that we had that we brought to the table were best practices, again, a document from a community that would communicate that value. So, for example, one of the things we use in our organization is we have the marketers that tout the value of the product. We have the CMO who touts the value of the product. And then we try to just permeate the whole organization with what we can actually accomplish with the tool. So feel like it would be a very good value to build a best practices document so that from the person that signs up or the business that signs up on the ground level with Omniture, they've got a good plan in place to start out. And then third-party documentation differentiating the products. Okay. Closing in that, again, what we were trying to accomplish here is create a bunch of different topics that we could discuss that could be explored through blogs, through wikis, which Matt mentioned. And that's really the process we went after. A digital format's available if you guys want it. My email address is just tonyb@daveramsey.com. I'd be glad to email that to you in a PDF format. I used MindJet, MindMap, if you're familiar with that. And I can email you in that format too if you want to share in developing it further. That's it.